All right. We're here with the one and only Jake Steiner. Jake, how are you?
I'm awesome. How you doing, Dorian?
I'm good. I'm good. So the viewers don't know that we are very far apart geographically, correct?
We are so far apart. It's 8:30 and never get up at 8:30.
Oh, no. You're a later person?
I'm
Early?
a
You're
later person.
a later
Yeah,
person. Yeah, this is early for you. Yeah.
it is so early.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you having me. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You have a topic that I think is pretty unique. I definitely don't talk about the eyes with people too much. But I would love to get a little bit of background on your story and how you got into what you're into.
So, eyesight,
Mm,
nearsightedness, short-sightedness, myopia, when you can't see anything without glasses at a distance, basically. Um, I got glasses when I was a kid, like high schoolish age.
hmm.
And every year, my parents took me to the optometrist, and glasses got stronger and stronger and stronger. A story for a lot of people, really.
Yeah.
And then at some point in my 20s, my eyes were always the same. Glasses didn't get stronger for a lot of years. And then one day I went back to the optometrist because I couldn't see well at night. And they said, you need stronger glasses. And I was like, why is that now? And they said, it's genetic. And that was kind of a red flag because,
Hmm.
right, like, how is that genetic? And then
Yeah.
I did a little bit of research. It was back in the days before internet was quick and easy, and I found that it's not genetic and that it's not an illness according to science, right? Like, which is weird because the
Yeah.
optometrist will tell you otherwise. And then over the last 20 years, been working on fixing it.
Interesting. Besides your own personal experience, what is it that has driven you to do this and really spend all this time on it?
um just being stupid in general, I think.
Yeah.
um yeah, no, first I just did it for myself, and
Yeah.
then I was super excited when it started working. Like,
Hmm.
I read all the books, all the stuff people tried, nothing worked. I kind of followed some hunches based on how the biology actually works, and then my eyesight improved fairly dramatically over a period of time. And
Hmm.
then I was super excited, and I would go to optometrists to get weaker glasses and
Mm.
tell them what happened, and they were so super dismissive and arrogant.
Really?
And yeah, the attitude was extremely negative. I got kicked out of one store, and I'm not really that rude or anything.
Yeah.
And that made me start writing online, like, and it was just kind of rants. Like, if you look at the website and if you go back, like, it's
Hmm.
mostly rants.
Yeah.
And then somehow people found that, and then people started following it. And I mean, by today, it's a pretty big community,
Yeah.
um, because it works pretty well. And other people figured out a bunch of other stuff. And by now, like, if you want to get rid of glasses, it's pretty easy to do. But it mostly just started me being, so I retired off of that.
Yeah.
Didn't really need the money or the fame. So it just started out as an expression of, you know, why do we have to listen to you guys? Right?
What was the kickback? You sounds like a lot of the optometrists you saw were sounds defensive about it, or they were, you said dismissive, but why such a strong reaction?
Well, and it took me a long time because my parents are both MDs, and my dad loves, for example, loves statin drugs, and you
Hmm.
can't talk to him about the downside or alternatives. You just can't,
Hmm.
right? And eventually, because I'm not so much into psychology, but it seems like it's a if that's part of your reality and it's something you've been telling people for so many years, and that's what you learned in school,
Yeah.
that's what is true for you, right? And that's what holds, it's one of the things that holds together your reality. And now
Right.
shows up some guy who says, I improved my eyesight, where you were told in school that's not possible. You've told a zillion people that's not possible. You don't believe it's possible. And for you to even entertain that idea would mean really disassembling a lot of stuff that you
Yeah.
just assumed is right. Right.
Yeah. It's kind of a breaking of their reality in a
Yeah.
sense, and they're fighting to save that reality because it's all they know. It seems like. Did you ever
Yeah.
come across anybody who actually was like, "This guy has a good point about this"?
Yeah, lots of people, but not initially, because now,
Okay.
I mean, for example, our Facebook group has like 20 some thousand members now.
Yeah.
So pretty commonly we hear about somebody who found a supportive optometrist.
Hmm.
And there's even guys like I met, and it's not entirely in the beginning. Like I travel a lot, so
Yeah.
in Italy I met some old optometrists, a couple old Russian dudes who are like, never wear glasses that you don't need,
Hmm.
optometrists. So people know. It's just, if you go to 10 random ones, 8 or 9 will probably be like, get out of here. There's nothing you
Hmm.
can do, But it's most of the things I quote, and when we talk about like how this happens and all of the science and biology, I quote clinical peer-reviewed journals that
Right.
are optometry and ophthalmology almost exclusively, right? So this is not a secret, and this is
Yeah.
stuff that is written for optometrists. It's just they're selling glasses at a 5,000% markup, so it doesn't make sense to have that part of the story.
Well, when the money becomes the largest part of the aspect and not actually helping people to not have to wear glasses, there becomes this dilemma. It seems like
Yeah.
it's like, hey,
Plus,
I'm
yeah,
choosing
plus
money.
people, yeah, people love glasses. People love, or they don't love glasses, but a lot of people like the no responsibility, right? You don't get to hear, this is because you're spending too much time in front of screens and
Yeah.
books. Just close up. You're not responsible for anything, and the fix is immediate. So a lot of
Right.
people like that, right?
Well, I think it goes to a lot of things. It's like, okay, how much work is involved in this endeavor? And if it's too much work, how can I get it done quicker without doing all the work aspects? It seems like what you're saying is glasses is kind of the shortcut on some level.
Yeah, it totally is, because it's the whole thing. And to not get crazy long into the biology,
Yeah.
scholar.google.com is my favorite website for research, because you're getting only the science, which
Right.
not all the science is true, but it's a good
Sure.
starting point. If you type in pseudo myopia,
Hmm.
PSEUDO myopia, you're going to get tens of thousands of search results of just studies showing that your nearsightedness is not genetic, it's a muscle spasm.
Huh.
So literally, yeah, like if you don't wear glasses, you never needed glasses. It's less immediate for
Yeah.
you. But literally, in almost every case, that when you were fine when you're a baby, and then you till at an age where you started playing with screens, your eyes were fine. That initial, they took you to the optometrist, is a muscle spasm. There's a lens in the eye
Hmm.
that changes focus based on what you look at, and the closer you look at stuff, the tighter that muscle gets. And if you stare at a screen for hours and hours, that muscle just gets stuck. That's all
Oh
it
my
is.
goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. I mean, it gets stuck. I never thought about it that way. But you're saying that these are science articles, peer-reviewed journals, all these things, probably meta-analyses. So scientists with professionals, is it just they haven't updated their knowledge as well
No,
on
this is,
this?
dude, this is in academia. This has been discussed for the last 50 years. Like, this is
Really?
not news. It's not news. There's there's a great article I read recently where, because there's a fair amount now that I've always said this, and I've said this 15 years ago, is once they find a product that you can patent, that you can sell, they're going to start talking about this. And now they're starting to have contact lenses that have these defocus rings in them
Hmm.
that basically simulate the same stuff we do, that help relax the muscle and help, some other stuff, the axial
Yeah.
change of the eye. Now they're quoting this science that's been around for 50 years or longer, really. But until there was an incentive to do it, nobody talked about it, right? Because
Hmm.
why would you go to a place that when you open the door, it's full of frames, fashion frames, and 2-for-1 sales and all that stuff, in a shopping mall, probably. Like, it's not, you're not going to the
Yeah.
hospital, and you're being sold stuff. So it doesn't really make sense to say, hey, the stuff we're selling, you just have a muscle spasm, you should just go outside more. You know,
Just
that's
go
crazy.
outside more. You don't need these glasses, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
That would fix it.
that's crazy. That is that simple, though. I mean,
Yeah. And that's why, and that's another reason this is not a popular topic, because
hmm,
you can't really make money on it. Right? Like, all my stuff is free. And
yeah,
in general, like, it's not, right? Like, it's not a high priority. It's not like
yeah,
weight or pain or other stuff. You just pop in contact lenses, you put on glasses, you're good.
yeah. So, is there still some level? I mean, you have this big support group and everything, but is there still some level from optometrists who are like, "Hey, you got to stop doing this. Like, this is like, you ever get that? If so, like,
So it's $100 billion a year industry,
oh my gosh,
right? It's
what?
I own lens stock. I have made a ton of money over the
Yeah,
last decade on lens stock. Um, $100 billion a year. Glasses cost wholesale, the lenses in glasses, $2 to $5, right? Like people pay hundreds of dollars
that's
for that stuff.
crazy.
Yeah. So I don't make a lot of noise. Like I've been asked to be interviewed on like big mainstream stuff, and I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't do it because how long am I going to last in
Yeah,
that sense, right? Like I just we chat and that's it.
yeah.
So I know when to shut up. Like I'm not pushing this hard, and so the big time is leaving me alone. And on the
Mm,
smaller level, optometrists have figured out that being unkind to us doesn't work anymore because the community is so big, right? Like
yeah.
5 years ago I'd still get a lot of crap, but today it's like
Interesting.
somebody posts something and now all of a sudden you got 800 comments on your post from people that like this stuff, and then it happens every once in a while they just delete it.
Right, right. It's kind of like the group is so big they kind of swallow the dissenter or somewhat.
Yeah. So we're in
you
a good
know.
spot right now, but the problem is we can't really, like I can't go mainstream with it, right?
Mm.
Like I can't do really big shows and stuff because I personally, I'm just not, I don't feel that confident that we'd survive that.
When you say survive, like you would be attacked by larger organizations, things like that, or just like
For sure, right? And they got lawyers and
right.
that they just pay all the time. And then there's hundreds of thousands of optometrists whose livelihood depends on this. All of a
Yeah,
sudden there'd be a lot of people who have a commercial interest who'd not be happy
yeah.
that every day people come in the office going, really, these things make my eyes worse? Because glasses literally make your eyes worse.
Talk about that because I'm not sure I've heard that angle on this about that.
So what happens to most people, like audience of yours that listens that wears glasses, for sure they didn't get the first pair of glasses and that was the end of the story. You
Hmm.
get one pair and the next year you get a stronger pair and the
Yeah,
next year you get a stronger pair.
right.
And what happens, the short version, go to scholar.google.com and type in lens induced myopia.
Hmm.
I'm saying this because it's otherwise I'm a dude on the internet and it sounds like a conspiracy thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like lens induced myopia in Google Scholar, now you're getting tens of thousands of search results of clinical science, of peer reviewed studies that explain that. So your eyeball is like a fluid filled ball, right? Like, and it's never perfectly round, but it needs to be because
Right.
there's a lens in the front and the retina in the back where the light focuses. So this ball is constantly in a state of adjusting its shape. Like the eyeball has a built-in mechanism to control its own length, axial length, it's called. It's kind of cool. And so what happens is it does that based on monitoring where the light hits the retina in the back of the eye. And if it doesn't quite focus on the retina, the eyeball shortens. And if some of it focuses behind the retina, the eyeball elongates. And it continually does this shortening, elongating dance, basically. When you put glasses in front of your eyes, they compensate for that muscle spasm. And what they do is they move the light further back in the eye. So now the eye goes, whoa, crap, I'm too short. And it elongates because of the lens, right? It's something called hyperopic defocus for people who want to look that up. So once you start wearing the lens, some of the light hits behind the retina, the eyeball adjusts in length, it gets longer. And longer means that now the light really doesn't focus on the retina anymore. So now you need even stronger glasses. And this
Hmm.
just keeps repeating in a about yearly cycle for people, recurring revenue to the optometrist. And
Right.
eventually you end up, I was at -5, right, with that
Wow.
process.
It's actually this is pretty staggering because it's essentially saying that there's a fix for your eyes and it doesn't cost any money. But on the other hand, this will cost the professionals money and their livelihood on some level. And so it sounds like the professionals who are against it are now, by the way, do they know this or they don't, or they willfully ignoring it essentially? Because if it's in peer reviewed journals, it's like either they're not updating their information or they're literally like, this is bad for my business. Yeah.
It's really it's a wide range of people,
Okay.
right? Like the MD story of my parents. My mom, a pediatrician, hates pills, will not prescribe
Okay.
medication unless it's extremely necessary. My
Yeah.
dad, on the other hand, loves pills. He's like, this is the answer for everything. And like, it was funny growing up because, right, like
Yeah.
married
Yeah.
couple, and they're so different. And
Sure.
growing up, I had like, my mom wouldn't allow frozen food of any kind, right? Like, she
Mm.
was really like, food has to be fresh and it
Yeah.
can't be
Yeah.
processed. She had this attitude. So I think with optometry, it's the same thing. You'll meet people who know this stuff and who are extremely careful about how strong the glasses are that they give you, and they let you know, hey, be careful about this stuff. And then there's others who are just, it's about seat time, right? Like how long that guy spends in the seat to get the glasses, so-called prescription, get him in those things, get him out of there, get the next one. So it's, some people know and they will tell you, and some people, what you say, willfully ignore, quite possibly.
Hmm.
They're not taught a lot of this, apparently.
Why not?
And dude, I don't know, because it doesn't serve the agenda. There's a friend of mine, for example, and this is not the only one, who is an optometrist in Hong Kong,
Uh-huh.
who figured this out long before me, right? And he had his own way to doing it, and he advertised. He was like, bring your kids, we'll fix that stuff, or at least we'll prevent them from needing glasses. And he was pretty successful. He still practices
Hmm.
today. And he was too successful. Some of his peers didn't like it. They reported him to the optometry board, and the optometry board says, we're taking your license
Wow.
for saying stuff that he was like, hey man, this is, I'm, you know, clinical science, I'm not
Yeah.
making this up. But they were like, you retain your license, right? Like they are, that's it. Like there's no debate with them,
Yeah.
and you're never practicing again. Like that was the, again, the dude's still there, and he's only still there because he agreed to never talk about it again,
Wow.
right? If you go in his office, wink, nudge, and you go, hey, I need glasses just for computer use,
Yeah.
he'll make them for you, but he can't promote it, you know?
Wow. So tell me a little bit about some of the stories that you're getting in this online community, pretty large community. I mean, it has to be gratifying to you to like read everything that people are saying about how this has affected them.
It's weird, to be totally honest, because I'm not, I'm not the saint guy. I'm not trying to save the world.
Yeah.
Like it was rants. Like I really just did this because it pissed me off that I went to
Yeah.
optometrist who said, "You're not a doctor. Get out of here."
Mm.
That it turned from that into, it helps people, and I made some great friends. I've met people. It is awesome. It's also kind of weird because if for anybody who reads the site and the blog goes, this guy is just ranting and sarcasm and inside
Yeah.
jokes. So it's kind of a weird intersection of, that was
Hmm.
not what I planned, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah. How did it like initially? When did you know it was really starting to take off?
I'm not sure, man. I was
Yeah.
kind of because I like made the YouTube channel, and for a long time it had like a few hundred subscribers,
Yeah.
right? And then the Facebook group is sort of an experiment. We have a forum that's really big too.
Hmm.
And then slowly you just see the numbers kind of grow, and you
Yeah.
never really, right? Like it just a little bigger, and it still feels, now it feels tiny compared to like podcasts around and stuff that are,
Sure.
that have hundreds of thousands and
Right.
all that.
But it's a powerful community. I mean, 20,000 people is a lot of people. And if they're regularly commenting on this and encouraging, they're probably encouraging other people, I would imagine. And it becomes this kind of tribal good thing in a sense, it seems like.
Yeah, and actually, the our forum's bigger than the Facebook group,
Yeah.
and then the website stats are pretty huge, and
Yeah.
fairly regularly. Also, I hear now from people saying they went to the optometrist to ask for lower diopter glasses, and the optometrist already knew about us. So that, not
Huh.
all the time, but it's pretty regular. Like once or twice a month, I get one of those where the optometrist rolled their eyes and went, "Oh
They
God, those
rolled their
guys."
eyes. They weren't happy, clearly,
Mhm.
about that.
But actually, they should be, because we sell a lot of glasses. Because if you do this, every 3 to 4 months, you buy new glasses, weaker
Yeah.
glasses, right? And two
Going
pairs
the
instead of
opposite
one.
way, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they should be happy. We're making money.
Yeah, I mean, it may be eventually it's leading to no glasses, but there are some sales of glasses occurring here.
For sure, because they need two pairs, right? Like one for
Yeah,
computer distance and one for regular distance. And then every 3, 4 months, you're buying two new pairs of glasses.
yeah,
And that for kids, like plus lenses, so that they don't get myopia in the first place. And you
yeah,
still buy, I don't know, they still get stuff.
yeah. So, is there like a story that really resonates with you from all the people that have done this, or maybe have communicated with you? Like, hey, I went from like really, really terrible eyesight to like no glasses, or some story that really pulled you.
That happens a lot
Oh,
because
okay.
that happens regularly. Actually, there's one that I'm thinking of. There was a parent with kids who had like -6 or
Hmm.
something, and it just happened like overnight, not literally overnight, but in an extremely short period of
Yeah,
time, that the child's eyesight just got really bad, big muscle spasm apparently.
yeah,
And they came to the forum, and people told them, don't buy glasses, try all this stuff first before you do. And in a matter of a week, that -6 went away, and the kid had totally fine vision again. And that's an outlier. That's not like
yeah,
happens
yeah,
to everyone. But it was kind of amazing to go, because I've got kids, to go from a future that your child's whole life is going to be in glasses to it was just a blip on the radar, and now we're back to
yeah.
normal. That's kind of nice.
I mean,
And
that is
also
pretty
in a
cool.
bigger sense, like we're living in a weird time, man. Like you
Totally
know this,
true.
right? Like
Totally true.
the internet screen addiction thing that didn't exist like in the recent past. Well, you and I remember getting bored, right? Finding
Yes,
stuff to do
I do.
that doesn't exist anymore. And I literally have conversations as you put the thing away long enough
Yeah,
to find other things to do, and people are
yeah,
like, wow, that's, I forgot about that, right?
yeah,
Like
they
that
do.
whole,
Actually, the muscle spasm thing is really crazy to me because like I know like if I'm doing work and I'm on a screen a long time, like my eyesight feels way worse after that. Like I have trouble seeing. And what I do is I like to do is I go outside and I start shooting hoops. I got a basketball hoop outside. And within an hour of me just being outside in the sunshine, all of a sudden my eyes feel 10 times better. Like 10 times better. Is this kind of like what you're talking about in some sense with that?
it's exactly what I'm talking about. It's a muscle spasm. If you had a fun experiment, if you did that, right, like you spent a bunch
Yeah.
of time in front of a computer, can't see,
Yeah.
immediately go to an optometrist, and you're gonna get a glasses prescription.
Right.
Yeah, you will.
Right. Right. It's funny you're saying this because, like, I think there was maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. I mean, I felt like, oh, I'm in my 40s. My eyes are just going, they're shot, you know? And I was talking to my wife about it, and she was like, just go outside more often. Like, this is why I was telling you this. And all of a sudden, my eyes feel like back to how they know. I've never had glasses, like ever, but I felt like it was maybe going downhill. But all of a sudden, I feel back to normal. And I'm like, wait a minute. All I did was just go outside more often
Yeah.
and not be on my screen so much. And
That's why this doesn't make any money. You know what I mean?
right,
Because that's all there's to it. And plus, people don't want to hear it, right? Like for one, it's easy, and nobody wants to hear, because the addiction thing is a real thing that people don't realize. That this
yeah,
stuff is extremely addictive. They don't
agreed.
understand that addiction is like, it's a real, serious, hard to escape, you lying to yourself thing,
Yeah,
right? But you, and you're in your 40s, like your eyesight's not going downhill. You're gonna be,
yeah.
your eyesight's gonna be fine until you die in 80
Wow,
more years. Like
that's
there's no,
incredible.
yeah. In your 40s, the lens hardens a bit. So
Okay.
people get where they need reading glasses, right? It's called presbyopia, but you're
Yeah.
not going to get that either. It's the same thing, or it's not the same thing at all, but
Yeah.
the same idea of good natural ambient daylight. Don't
Mhm.
read in bed for 10 hours at a time.
Yeah.
Get breaks, get outside. Your eyes are going to be fine.
So you think that like the whole screen addiction, the increase in our lifestyles is decreasing our vision essentially, and which is also funneling eyeglass wear potentially. Is that kind of the chain?
Oh, it's horrible now. Like it, stuff that I never heard about even
Hmm.
10 years ago, 5 years ago, like a trickle. Now it's daily, almost daily. Where parents go, oh, my kid is my 3 year old, my 2 year old, my 5 year old, took him to the optometrist, need glasses. My question is always, do they have iPads? And they do. right? Like
Yeah.
when they're little, I see babies in strollers holding on to phone
Isn't
screens
that
watching
crazy?
cartoons.
That's crazy.
Muscle spasm, right? The
Mm.
thing you were talking about, like, and they don't get outside to play hoops. And like
Yeah.
they're sitting inside, then maybe they'll play with some toys, and then they're back on the screen, and then they squint, and then the parents take them to optometrist, and you would not hear about 5-year-olds getting glasses before all the screen stuff.
Yeah. So beyond just kind of getting outside, what is there other things that you prescribe or say, hey, these are some simple techniques that you can do to not have to get glasses, improve your eyesight?
If you're not wearing glasses yet, then get eye checkups for sure, right? Go to the ophthalmologist, get checkups. I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying don't do
Sure.
just regular health checkups. Um, but the main thing is what you said. Like if you don't need glasses yet and you notice after screen use you don't see well, you need outside time. And you figured this out on your own.
Yeah.
That muscle spasm eventually goes away.
It does. It
And
definitely does.
yeah, and some people have a harder time figuring out when that is, how that is. You can print an eye chart, you can hang it up at home, and you can compare literally just like an optometrist would. Now you can read the 2020 line after 4 hours of Netflix. You can't, you know,
Of course.
right? And you wake up in the morning and now you can see it again. There you go, right? Like that is just the muscle working well. If you already wear glasses and you can see your screen fine without them, always take them off. That
Hmm.
hyperopic defocus, the glasses focusing light behind the retina happens the most when you use glasses meant for distance while you're
Hmm.
looking at something up close, right? So if you were to always take off those glasses when you use the computer screen, you would never need stronger ones, right? Like
Hmm.
that's a big one. And if your glasses are already too strong, like you need them even for your computer, then the first step, and that's a big one, is get like a diopter less, like 1.25 diopters less, just for computer glasses. Wear those for a month just for computer use.
Yeah.
And if you wear your distance glasses for close up, you're going to get an immediate headache and just feel
Hmm.
nauseous because you'll then realize how much they're too strong for computer.
Hmm. Wow. It's almost too simple. That's
It is.
you know what I mean. That's what I
It is.
think people it's kind of this too good to be true complex that I think
Well,
people have a hard time with.
that's one thing. And then also there's a couple of things. One, the screen addiction thing is a real issue. Two, the lenses work as a quick fix pretty well. Like you don't have pain, you're not overweight, people don't hate you. You just
Right.
pop in some contact lenses. So you're
Hmm.
like, okay, I have a screen problem. I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to pop in these contacts. Done.
Yeah.
So the solution is simple, but I don't know if it's too good to be true just because you would have to take some action to
Yeah.
go investigate your own lifestyle. And then
Mm.
once you dive into it, you are going to spend a month or two learning, right? It's
Yeah.
like the conversation level we're having is you want to get strong, go to the gym, lift weights. Like
Yeah.
that's the level. Like if you're
Sure.
actually going to go to the gym, you're going to still learn a bunch of stuff.
Right.
This is the
Right.
same way. Like if you're really getting into it, there's a bunch of details.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically it's just like, right. If you've never heard of the gym and somebody tells you you can get stronger, you're going to be like, no way.
Really? Right. Exactly.
Right.
Now, what about other cases? There are other types of eye issues that people say, "Hey, listen, Jake, I this sounds great, but I have a real issue with my eyes, some sort of macular degeneration or whatever." I mean, I'm not really well equipped in all that, but maybe it's something outside of what you're talking out that could be more serious potentially.
Sure. Then I said, look at this face, and I'm not a doctor.
Right.
Right, like go see a doctor.
Go
Yeah,
see a
I do get
doctor.
those questions a lot,
Right.
and people are looking for an alternative because the myopia thing is kind of the way we talk about it. I'm a little jaded, right? Because I've told this story for the last 10 years,
Yeah.
so I'm just kind of like, hey, but for a lot of people, it's like, wow, that's one, that's crazy. Two, this must be some internet unicorn farm,
Yeah.
right? Three, they go to Google Scholar and they go, wow, that is actually kind of true. And then they do show up and ask me all these other questions. And I'm always saying the same thing, like modern medicine has a lot of good points. They let you down on myopia, but macular degeneration, if I had it, I would go see an ophthalmologist and I would listen to them on their advice.
Mm.
Probably.
That's yeah, probably.
I hope so.
That's pretty awesome. What's the, maybe this doesn't, maybe this is not right, but like about like wearing sunglasses. Is that something you talk to people about, like the strength of sunglasses and UV rays and things, or is that just completely off of this whole thing? With that, with eye
That's a
care, it seems like eye care.
Yeah, people ask me about that. My take, and that's why I'm like, I know a ton about myopia, and then
Yeah.
from there it gets less and less.
Mm.
My take on sunglasses is if you're squinting, otherwise wear sunglasses. Right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be outside like this.
Right. Right.
Um, I think we don't get enough UV. I think there are some interesting studies saying there's deficiencies that develop because of
Yeah.
it. If you're behind glass, UV is blocked. So if you're in your car, if you're in your office, even though there's daylight, you're getting no UV.
Hmm.
We might be underexposed, possibly.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not one to say never wear sunglasses, right? Like if you're
Yeah.
squinting, I put them on. Otherwise, I
Yeah.
skip them.
Interesting. It's funny. Eyes are so important to people. I don't think anybody would be like, "Wow, so this is my eyes. I see with these things." But it feel like the information about some, like, I had never heard of this until I was contacted. Like, literally, never. Now I've
I
never been a
know.
glass wearer, so it's not like I never really thought about. But so many people I know wear glasses. I guarantee when they hear this, they will not have ever heard of this, ever.
Yeah, I know.
And that's
I know.
incredible because it
I
seems so simple.
It is, and dude, I've had podcast conversations where we barely the only reason we got into the conversation is because it was recommended from a friend,
Yeah.
right? And before we actually record, the host goes, I don't even know people care about this stuff. Like we never, we talk about diet, we talk about food, we talk
Sure.
about this. Like, no, who cares? I'm like, yeah, yep. But it affects your posture, right? Like if you're into sports, if you're wearing glasses, like I used to love playing water polo.
Yeah.
And like it's like basketball, but in the water,
Sure.
kind of. But my vision got worse. So the ball turned from being a yellow ball into being a yellow fuzzy thing. And the
Mm.
fuzzy thing got bigger and bigger, right? Because you can't see clearly. So it's just, and you can only catch and throw with one hand.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of aiming for the middle of the yellow fuzz
Right.
to catch this ball. That, and then I got scared of balls flying in my direction, right? Because then you wear glasses, you have no peripheral vision.
Right.
So when somebody's throwing and you're not, right, like it's not in this frame, you're
Yeah.
not seeing it, and
No.
then bam, it hits you in the head, then
Yeah.
you lose your glasses, and then it's just not fun. So you develop a fear. So I went from playing and having fun to being literally kind of afraid of that stuff. And it
Hmm.
sounds lame, but that happens. And then you
Yeah.
start feeling like you're clumsy, right? Because for example, you wear glasses. You don't have peripheral vision. So you can't walk with your head straight. You got to
Yeah.
look at the ground, right? So now you're walking around everywhere, like looking at the ground.
Yeah.
When you talk to people, you need to look through the center of them. So unconsciously, your head movements are different from a person who
Hmm.
doesn't wear glasses,
Interesting.
right? Like you seem a little bit more like robotic and a little bit less
Yeah.
relaxed.
Yeah.
So you develop, people interact with you differently because you seem just a tiny bit weird, right?
Yeah.
So all of these things change. You see kids with glasses, they're usually quieter, they're more introverted, they read
Hmm.
more. It's not necessarily because that's who they are, but the glasses make them, like I said, afraid of balls. Their social interactions are
Yeah.
weird. So
That
that's a
makes
thing.
sense. I'm like thinking about when I was a kid and I saw kids who had glasses, like they totally had that profile, kind of,
I had
like,
that profile.
and it's kind of the old term, kind of the book nerd term, the
Yeah,
glasses, it's
yeah.
like, oh, is interesting. The explanation of that makes a lot more sense, actually.
And I
It's
was that
just,
kid,
yeah.
dude. And I paraglide. I lived in Nepal for a while paragliding, and I kite surf. I'm usually in Vietnam
Yeah.
all winter, every winter, kite surfing, and I would have never done that. And I was that book nerd. And
Yeah.
if you told me I would do this stuff, I would say no way, never gonna
Hmm.
happen. But when you don't need glasses, you have a different relationship with your body and
That's
your motor
true.
control and all that stuff.
You think also though that people maybe like glasses because maybe the stylish aspect of that, because there's some level of fashion with glasses now, especially too.
Yeah, just don't put lenses in it that stop you from seeing stuff.
See, it's too simple, Jake. It's like just don't put lenses in it.
I know. The whole thing is stupid because nobody hears of it, even though clinical science has been talking about this forever. And
Yeah,
then people also not that interested and it doesn't make money. So even though it's a
yeah,
super important topic, it will affect your life a lot because I went from glasses to no glasses and it makes a big difference. But it's a weirdly underrated topic. Just like
yeah.
you said, nobody's heard of it.
I don't think
People are like,
anybody's
yeah.
heard of it. And let's say, is there an average time span from somebody? Let's say somebody's been wearing glasses their entire life. Right? They're like, you never seen them without glasses. How long would it take them, or just an average person, to get to no glasses from constantly wearing glasses? Going from the one level to the weaker glasses and so
Yeah.
forth.
So the smallest increment of lens diopters is a quarter,
Okay.
0.25 diopters. You can reduce that quarter diopter every 3 to 4 months
Okay.
if you're doing everything right. On
Right.
average, I've dealt with tens of thousands of people over the years, and from all the data I have, super consistent. If you're doing everything right, a quarter diopter every 3 to 4 months. So
Hmm.
the year, that's about a diopter. Since you never worn glasses, you're like, yeah, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But for people who do wear them, they can check. Like I was at -5, right?
Okay.
So technically, that's a 5-year journey. But the thing is, it's autopilot. It's not like you have to go to the gym and work out. There's no
Yeah.
exercises.
Right.
There's just, you have better habits, and every few months you get weaker glasses. And then the weaker your glasses are, also, if you see, you're lucky you don't wear those things.
No.
For people who wear glasses, if you take them off and you just put them like a little bit further in front of your eyes, you immediately see they make everything smaller,
Yeah.
and everything's kind of distorted. And the stronger your glasses are, the stronger that effect is. So you actually see a different world if you don't wear glasses, or the lower your glasses get.
Yeah.
The lower your glasses get, the less that image is like compressed, which is
Okay.
basically what lenses do. So
Yeah.
even though I say it might take you 5 years, number one, you don't have to do a lot of work. And number two, the whole time you're improving, you're continually getting a better view of the world, basically.
Right. Now, is there kickback because you're getting new glasses so often that there's maybe a financial issue there for people?
Well, I got all the wholesale price sheets for lenses for every manufacturer, and they're all $5, $2, $3.
Oh,
So you buy them online. You go to Zenny and you pay
okay.
$20, right? Like the
There you
hundreds
go.
of dollars days are, those things are prescription. They were never prescription because they're a clear curved piece of plastic.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna die putting on the wrong glasses. You're gonna put them on and be like, ah, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars are spent in lobbying to make them prescriptions, so they could charge hundreds of dollars for them, right? Because like reading glasses aren't prescription, so you can buy those for $10.
Yeah.
It's the
That's right.
same. It's the same stuff. It's the
Hmm.
same stuff. So they aren't expensive, and if you just buy them online, so you're paying $20, it's still not nothing, but
Right. But it's much
it's a
cheaper.
yeah, it's a lot cheaper. Yeah.
Wow. So it's just it's funny. There's not a lot of work involved. It's just updating your glasses, doing the right thing, getting outside, doing the techniques, and just staying the course with kind of downgrading the level of glasses
Yeah.
that you're having.
The main thing is you gotta have a reason to do it. Right?
Mm.
Like you listen to this podcast and you're like, wow, I never heard of that. This is going to be a great tidbit to throw
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
in the office. But like, if I do a podcast, but it's not really a podcast, it's just improvement stories from people.
Right.
And I
Right.
had the last couple where the dudes just happened to be surfers. But like one guy was, he works in an ER, but he also surfs. And whenever I hear that, I'm like, that dude is getting rid of his glasses in no time because he's got an incentive,
He
right? Like
does.
be going out surfing in contact lenses, you are taking a chance because those things fall out in a wave. And I hope you see well enough, right? You probably will,
Yeah.
to get back to shore.
Yeah.
But now, like, that's a guy with an incentive. And if he wears slightly weaker glasses, now he's got to figure out, see the waves. He's got to make an effort to see those waves every 3 to 4 months. Weaker contact lenses,
Yeah.
he's getting rid of those things easy. But if you tell that to a dude who you know is working on getting his PhD and also loves playing video games, and the rest of the time is on Tinder and Facebook and
Yeah.
Instagram, he's gonna have a hard time, right? Because he's got a screen problem.
Got a screen problem. Wow. This is amazing. Honestly, you never know what you're going to get when you talk to people. And this, I had no clue was coming. I can tell you that honestly, which is a great, pleasant surprise. I'm not an eye, I've never had an issue really, having glasses, but so many people in my family do. My wife wears glasses. I can't wait till she listens to this and we have a discussion about it and see what happens. You know?
It is okay. So if your wife wears glasses, I'll throw this in. Um, myopia. So the diopters on the so-called prescriptions are
Yeah.
confusing to people, right? Like -2. What does that mean? Who knows
Yeah.
what that means? But it's actually a distance to blur, right? So 100 divided by the centimeter distance when
Hmm.
things get blurry equals diopters.
Right.
You don't care, right? Because you don't wear glasses, but
Right.
it'll make sense to your wife in a moment.
Yeah.
You get a measuring tape, any kind of measuring tape. If, for example, she has a -2, she can put that measuring tape to 50 centimeters, put a book at that distance, and that's exactly how far she can see the text clearly.
Right.
She puts at 60, it's blurry. She puts at 40, it's totally clear. The weird diopter number where everybody's like, I don't know what that means. It's just 100 divided by the distance equals diopters. So
Mm.
measuring at home is super easy. You don't need an optometrist to figure out how strong the glasses need to be.
Hmm.
You just need a measuring tape and the distance, right? Now, if she wears glasses, the way you get into this is measure in the morning, right? Like sit next to a window,
Mm-hmm.
natural daylight is the best. With a book, printed page, also the best. See how far she can see it before the tiniest bit of blur happens.
Yeah.
Write it down. Then compare it after you guys watch a bunch of Netflix. That's going
Yeah.
to be a different number, right?
Crazy.
Eyesight varies. If you have insulin spikes, if you eat food that causes an insulin spike, that number might be lower.
Hmm.
Do a bunch of those measurements, and then then it's kind of a game, right? Because she'll be
Yeah.
like, I got to 45 and I got to 60. And then you can figure out your own glasses because that number, right, is just diopters. You can
Yeah.
order them online, and all of a sudden, it's like it's super empowering because
Yeah.
you can just do it by yourself, and it's also turns into my best number 60. I can buy glasses based on that,
Yeah.
and then what do I see with those? And as soon as you get into that part, it's a thing that you're just gonna do,
Yeah.
right? Like people really get into it from once you measure and you figure out how easy it is to actually do this on your own,
Yeah.
it's you almost can't escape just getting rid of those things because you realize this is not this big mystery that I need to go
Yeah.
to the doctor for.
It actually just makes me think of like also like how many things in life are like myopia. And this, like okay, so you unlock a secret to something that is actually not a secret, is out there, but you're like, wait a minute, how can it be like this? How many other myopias are there out there that where it's like, well, the answer's there, we're just not looking.
Yeah,
Really.
there's a
It just
lot.
what's curious says I feel like the longer I've lived, the more myopias there are.
Yeah,
And this is just one level of that,
there for sure are, and I didn't know either because I'm kind of mainstream. Like I don't
Yeah,
really get into alternative stuff. I don't do
sure.
fringe things.
Hmm.
Um, but since I've been forced to do podcasts, I get on podcasts where I'm hearing other stuff like
Yeah,
heart disease, and I'm not gonna go big on
sure.
that, but just CAC scan, you can scan your heart. They can 3D scan your heart
Yep.
for are you getting heart? I never knew about that
Right.
stuff. I couldn't believe it.
It's
I went to
crazy.
the hospital and had it done. I'm like, wow, nuts. Yeah, so I
Nuts.
think there's a lot of that stuff that is not really what we're told it is
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah. How far are you willing to look? What mountains are you willing to climb? And really get deep, which I think is interesting because we're in a culture sometimes, I think globally, where we just kind of look at headlines. We
Mm.
don't look deeper than the surface level. And I think if you look at an iceberg, the largest portions under the water, and you just see the tip, you know,
Yeah.
and that's
But
life a
then
lot.
I'm also careful though, because there's a real fine line, right? Between this is mainstream and cool and
Yeah,
then a lot of crazy talk,
that's
right?
true too. Yeah,
Because I've looked for I had thyroid issues and I looked for answers online, and some people are into some crazy
that's true.
shit
That's
that
true.
is like
Very
Not a
true.
brilliant idea. When you go on Google Scholar and you're like, really, should I take massive doses of this substance? And you
Yeah.
look at the science and you're like, wow, that's not a good idea.
No.
So that's why I always mention Google Scholar, because I'm
Yeah.
like, for me, this topic is a red flag, because
Yeah.
I don't do the conspiracy thing. I don't do
Yeah.
the,
Of
I'm
course. Yeah.
right. Like,
No.
yeah. So
I use
it,
Google Scholar too, by the way, quite a bit.
yeah,
So I know when you were saying that, I was like, oh yeah, I totally use that because it's like such a direct pipeline to information,
yeah.
So, well, this is awesome, Jake. Seriously, this was really eye opening.
Ooh,
Ooh,
nice.
it's eye opening, right? So thank you so much for your time and for spreading this really important information. And man, it's going to be powerful. I really think so, for sure.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Dorian. I really
Hey,
appreciate it.
it's my pleasure. And it's no longer 8:30 in the morning. Your time. And maybe it's closer to your normal wake up time. I don't know, but you're getting there maybe.
I'm going straight for coffee after this.
Okay, you go straight for coffee, and I'm going straight to the evening time here. So,
Awesome.
some sleep. Thank you so much, Jake, and I look forward to staying in touch.
Awesome. Thanks,
All right.
Dorian.